It is quietly convincing yourself that you will start later. Later, when you feel more confident. Later, when people believe in you. Later, when you have more money, more time, more support, more courage. But later is a very clever thief. It does not take your dream all at once. It takes it one day at a time. And before you even notice, the thing you once wanted so badly becomes just a memory inside your mind. Maybe you know this feeling. There is something you want to begin. A skill you want to learn. A business you want to build. A video you want to create. A life you want to change. But every time you get close to starting, your mind becomes loud. What if I am not good enough? What if nobody cares? What if I look stupid? What if I fail? So you wait. You tell yourself you are preparing. But deep down, you know the truth. You are not preparing. You are hiding. Story is about a young woman named Elena, who spent years waiting to feel ready. Until one small moment on a rainy street in Lisbon changed the way she saw her whole life. Elena lived in a small apartment above a bakery in Lisbon, Portugal. Every morning, she woke up to the smell of fresh bread, the sound of scooters passing through narrow streets, and the distant bells from an old church near the square. From the outside, her life looked simple. She worked at a small cafe, served coffee to tourists, smiled politely, came home tired, and repeated the same routine every day. But inside her heart, Elena carried a dream she had never told many people about. She wanted to become a filmmaker. Not a famous one. Not at first. She just wanted to tell stories. Stories about ordinary people, old shopkeepers, street musicians, mothers walking their children to school, workers returning home late at night. She believed every person had a story worth showing. But there was one problem. Elena never started. She kept telling herself she needed a better camera. Then she needed editing software. Then she needed more confidence. Then she needed someone to guide her. Every excuse sounded reasonable. And because every excuse sounded reasonable, she believed them. Years passed like this. Her dream stayed alive, but only in her imagination. One evening, after a long shift at the cafe, rain began falling heavily over the city. Elena was walking home with her jacket over her head when she saw an old man sitting under a small street lamp. He had a violin in his hands. His clothes were wet. His shoes looked old. Only 3 or 4 people were passing by, and none of them stopped. Still, the old man played. The music was not perfect. Sometimes his fingers slipped. Sometimes the sound shook, but he continued playing with his eyes closed, as if the whole world was listening. Elena stopped for a moment. She watched him play in the rain and asked, "Why are you still playing? Nobody is really listening." The old man opened his eyes and smiled. "Somebody is listening." Elena looked around. "There is almost no one here." The old man gently tapped his chest. "I am listening." Elena did not know what to say. Then the old man said something she never forgot. "If I waited for a perfect audience, my music would die inside me." That sentence followed Elena all the way home. That night, she sat near her window and watched rain slide down the glass. She thought about the old man. He had no stage, no crowd, no perfect moment. But he still played. And she realized something painful. Her dream was not waiting for better tools. Her dream was waiting for her permission. The next morning, Elena took out her old phone. The screen had a small crack in the corner. The camera was not special. The storage was almost full, but for the first time, she did not use that as an excuse. She went downstairs and filmed the bakery owner taking warm bread out of the oven. Her hands were shaking. She felt awkward. She did not know where to stand. She did not know how to frame the shot. The video looked simple. Too simple. But it existed. And that mattered. That night, Elena edited the clip badly. The sound was uneven. The lighting was poor. The cuts felt strange, but when she watched it, she felt something she had not felt in years. Movement, not success, not confidence, just movement. And sometimes movement is the first sign that a dream is still alive. A few days later, Elena filmed an old woman feeding pigeons near the square. Then she filmed a young delivery rider resting beside his bike. Then she filmed a painter cleaning his brushes outside a small studio. Every video was imperfect. Some people ignored her. Some said no. Some looked at her strangely. Sometimes she came home embarrassed and thought, maybe I am not made for this. But then she remembered the old violinist in the rain. If I waited for a perfect audience, my music would die inside me. So she continued. One afternoon, Elena visited a small community art center where a retired documentary filmmaker named Marcus taught free weekend classes. Elena showed him one of her short videos. She expected him to say it was good. He did not. He watched quietly, then said, "Your camera moves too much. Your story has no clear shape. Your sound needs work." Elena felt her face become warm. She wanted to disappear. Then Marcus looked at her and said, "But you have one thing many beginners do not have." Elena looked up. "What?" "You started." He leaned back in his chair and said, "Most people talk about what they will create someday. You brought me something real. Broken, rough, unfinished, but real. That means we can improve it." That sentence changed everything for Elena. Before that day, she thought criticism meant she was not good enough, but Marcus taught her that criticism was not the end. It was information. A bad first attempt was not proof of failure. It was proof that the learning had begun. Weeks turned into months. Elena kept filming. She woke up earlier before work. She stayed up late editing. She learned how to hold the camera steady. She learned how to listen before asking questions. She learned that people opened their hearts when she stopped trying to make everything perfect and simply became present. Her videos slowly improved. Not suddenly. Not magically. Slowly. One small correction at a time. One mistake at a time. One uncomfortable attempt at a time. There were still days when she wanted to quit. One video got only 9 views. Another took her 3 days to edit and still looked terrible. Once, she lost all her footage because she forgot to save it properly. She cried that night. Not because the footage was gone, but because she felt like maybe she had wasted her time. The next day, Marcus found her sitting alone outside the art center. He sat beside her and said, "Do you know why most people never become good?" Elena wiped her eyes and said, "Because they are not talented." Marcus shook his head. "No. Because they cannot survive being bad long enough to become better." Then he pointed toward the city. Every beautiful thing you see was once unfinished. Every expert was once confused. Every confident person once had trembling hands. You are not behind. You are just in the part everyone wants to skip. Elena never forgot that. She stopped seeing the beginner stage as something shameful. She began to see it as the entrance fee. Years later, Elena's short documentaries were watched by people around the world. Not because they were loud, not because they were perfect, but because they were honest. She told stories about people most others walked past. A taxi driver in New York who sent money home every month. A florist in Paris who still kept one chair empty for her late husband. A fisherman in Morocco who taught his grandson how to read the sea. a nurse in London who sang softly during night shifts. Elena's work traveled further than she ever imagined. But whenever someone asked her how she began, she did not talk about cameras, awards, or success. She talked about a rainy night in Lisbon. She talked about an old violinist playing for almost no one. And she always said the same thing. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment, and I gave my dream a small, imperfect beginning. One day, a young student came to meet her